500 million years ago, a single day on Earth lasted barely 21 hours. The atmosphere was choked with volcanic ash and carbon dioxide, casting a pale yellow haze over a barren, motionless ocean. Beneath that murky water, microscopic cyanobacteria had been quietly converting sunlight into oxygen for over 2 billion years. Life existed as a layer of biological sludge, drifting without intentional movement or interaction. Then, a mutation disrupted this state. A tiny organism developed a primitive cluster of cells capable of detecting light and shadow. The first eye had opened. Sight forced a shift from chemical drifting to targeted interaction. For the first time, a creature could perceive and move toward another, turning the ocean floor into a space of active pursuit. This new environment produced the ocean's first apex predator, Anomalocaris. While most organisms were measured in millimeters, this creature patrolled the waters at nearly a meter long. Its primary advantage was its vision. Anomalocaris possessed compound eyes built with over 16,000 individual lenses, an optic system that could lock onto moving targets even in dim, murky water. To survive being hunted, prey species had to mount a rapid defense. Soft-bodied organisms began extracting calcium carbonate from the seawater to build heavy external shells and rigid spikes. The requirement to outmaneuver predators drove the development of articulated limbs and complex neural networks. Survival now required a brain capable of translating sensory data into physical escape. Animals that failed to grow heavy armor were forced out of the open water. These species survived only by burrowing into the mud or retreating into the darkest, least accessible corners of the ocean. The development of brains, armor, and agility was driven by the specific physical pressure of predation. Modern biological complexity is a direct inheritance from the first hunt at the bottom of the ocean. This map shows the ancient world. Land masses we now know as South America, Africa, India, Australia, and Antarctica were pushed together into a single mass, Gondwana. Over millions of years, trapped thermal pressure from the mantle forces supercontinents to form, fracture, and drift apart, opening new ocean basins. When these tectonic plates shifted, the environmental consequences were severe. As continents moved across latitudes, shallow seas evaporated into deserts, and global ocean currents reversed direction. This continental drift functioned as a biological separator. Populations were physically severed by expanding oceans, trapping species in unfamiliar environments and forcing them to adapt in isolation. Life expanded into new varieties because shifting geology destroyed the status quo. To exist on a planet that repeatedly reorganized its own surface, biology had to be infinitely adaptable. Pushed out of the crowded shallows, some organisms retreated to the absolute depths of the ocean floor. Here, they faced crushing ocean pressures and hydrothermal vents spewing black water at temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. In total darkness, these microbes utilized chemosynthesis, bypassing the need for sunlight entirely by extracting chemical energy directly from volcanic gases. Meanwhile, other exiles were pushed toward the surface. The continents were barren rock, pounded by unfiltered ultraviolet radiation, subjected to extreme temperature swings between day and night. Microscopic cyanobacteria and early mosses crawled onto the bare rock. They secreted a biological slime that trapped airborne mineral dust and moisture, creating the first centimeters of organic soil. By surviving in these harshest corners, organisms developed the specific metabolic traits and protective structures that eventually enabled the colonization of the entire planetary surface. Once soil existed, plants could finally evolve past the shoreline. They developed internal vascular systems, biological plumbing that transported water against gravity, allowing them to grow high above the damp ground. These ancient ferns and horsetails rose 10 meters high, forming the first terrestrial forests. They stood like pillars, towering over deep black swamps of decomposing organic matter. This chart shows how those forests operated as a massive atmospheric engine. As global forest coverage expanded, the plants were stripping carbon directly out of the greenhouse sky to build their woody trunks. When these plants died and collapsed into the swamps, the carbon trapped inside their tissues was buried under sediment,
permanently locking massive volumes of carbon underground. Through this burial of organic matter, biology seized control of the global climate, overriding the atmospheric cycles that had governed Earth for billions of years.
But the forests engineered the atmosphere too effectively. By stripping out carbon, they pumped atmospheric oxygen levels up to a highly volatile 35%. This super-oxygenated air removed previous metabolic limits. Prehistoric dragonfly-like insects grew to massive sizes, hunting with wingspans over 70 centimeters wide. The extra oxygen also created a physical hazard. The planet became a tinderbox, where a single lightning strike could ignite a wildfire capable of incinerating hundreds of kilometers of forest. Yet the forest ecosystems adapted to the flames. Plant life evolved specialized reproductive cycles and thicker bark to thrive in the aftermath of these fires, ensuring that destruction cleared the ground for more resilient species. Earth was never a stable, peaceful cradle. Every modern ecosystem, every breath of air, and every inch of fertile soil exists because life learned to adapt faster than a world that constantly tried to destroy it.